Hey guys, Little Gaming here, and some other moderately popular YouTube channels are spreading misinformation either knowingly or purposely about gambling in casinos, and I don't care for that. So I'm going to give you some examples and break down why what they're saying isn't quite true, and give you the truth. Let's go.
Casino executives get a laugh out of it when people look for quote-unquote lucky properties instead of focusing on games with better odds. Every casino slot machine uses a random number generator, every casino is subject to the same gaming regulations, and operates under the same mathematical principles. The only things that change between casinos are the variety of games, the rules, and their player reward systems. Luck doesn't live in buildings. It's just math playing out over time, and the math works the same everywhere in Vegas.
100% false. That's not even remotely correct. So this is coming from Jacob's Life in Vegas. He's a realtor. He does a lot of food and hotel reviews. They're pretty good. He seems like a nice enough guy, but he does not know the deep fundamentals of gambling. I've heard a lot of inaccuracies on his channel, unfortunately. You go to the manufacturer and you say, hey, we got 14 leases coming up. Send me the sheets on your new stuff. What's popular? And they'll send you not the full par sheet, because that's ridiculous. They'll send you the short version, the marketing sheet. I'd show you some examples, but I don't remember where all of them are from, and I don't need that kind of heat. I'm pretty confident I'm not supposed to have any of them. But they'll say, hey, you can order this with an 84% to 91% return to player. Here's an example of a super old one, by the way. Really old, so old they wouldn't care. And I'm also not saying what machine it is. You can order it with any of those return to player statistics, and they'll tweak the numbers, or they'll tweak the symbols on the reels to make sure that this certain win, happens less often, or the bonus happens less often, or the line pays are a little bit lower, or just whatever. So in Vegas, they're all about the same because they have to publicly disclose their odds on average. There's these reports, they get audited. The ones on the strip are worse payback because their real estate prices, their mortgages, their property taxes, whatever, are all insane. Off the strip, you get better odds because they paid less for the property to cost them less to operate it. Everybody knows that. But to say, oh, look, dancing drums here and dancing drums there at two completely different casinos in two completely different states. They're identical machines, work exactly the same. It doesn't mean that the casino didn't order a different version with a different payback table. And it is really hard to change them once you already order them. Some don't let you do it. All of them, you have to open up the cabinet. Then you have to open up the actual game computer on the inside, which you can only do in the presence of the gambling commission. So you have to get them there, and you can't just go boop, boop, and press a button and change the odds. Okay, that's not it. It's not that simple. So you better get the odds right when you order it, and they tend to not change them. So they just say, we're about a 9% margin casino, and so give us the one closest to that. There you go. Who are the worst offenders of this? The ones who don't have to report their odds. Sometimes. I have a really good example and a really good counterexample, but I'll save that for later. Now, to summarize what he said in a clip that was too long for me to put in, the last 100, the statistics that they show on roulette mean absolutely nothing. That's not technically true. You can't draw any valuable conclusions from it, but he said, oh, the ball doesn't have any memory and every single spin is exactly perfectly random. Completely false. 100 spins isn't enough to find a tendency, usually. Normally, you would need 1,000 plus. There are people on Vegas's ban list right now that thought differently than that and proved it and made a lot of money. If a wheel has too much of a tendency, those numbers are going into a database somewhere where they've got the last 100,000 spins, and if it has too much of a tendency, they get rid of it, right? Do you know how much those things cost? A lot of them are leased. They gotta do special shipping to get it there because any little bump or dent will make it have a tendency. So if they notice a tendency where it's hey, on this half, this quarter, this section of the wheel, it lands here a little bit more than it should consistently, it's by how much and is the table still making money? So if the answer to those are fine, they're gonna leave it. They don't just say, oh, it's off by 1%. Better spend, X amount of tens of thousands of dollars on a new wheel. Better just shut down the table. Look, if nobody's exploiting it, because nobody has access to those kind of numbers, then who cares? So it could have a tendency. All wheels have a slight tendency. It's just how much, what percentage. Now, I wouldn't go out trying to crack it. It's almost impossible to do without technology, and if you use that, that's against the law. And I think if it got bad enough that you're like, wow, look at those numbers. It is landing on this 1/4 of the wheel, ridiculous often. They would actually get rid of it in that case, or rebalance it, or repair it, or whatever they got to do. And remember, if you win way too much on it, you're betting really late, or you're just seeming suspicious and you're winning anomalous amounts, they can leave the table open and kick just you off, because that solves the problem. So while it's not technically true what he said at a real pedantic level, it's really hard to exploit, and there's easier ways to rip off casinos. Trust me. If you've been on my channel long enough, you know you can beat the casino other ways, honestly and legally. Oh, and he also says, oh, you want to find a double zero instead of a triple zero. If you can, find a single zero because it's way better. Here's the percentages. Yeah, the minimum bet is usually like 5 times higher. So if you're going to lose 2.7% of $50 per spin, or you could lose like 5 point whatever percent of $10 a spin, how much are you losing per spin? So what he should have said, to be specific, is don't bet too high on a roulette table with double or triple zero when you could get away with a better odds one by meeting the minimums on a table that's just single zero.
Machine location, volume level, and recent payouts have absolutely zero effect on the outcome, as each spin is completely independent and random, regardless of what happened before. Casinos particularly love superstitious players because they waste energy on meaningless rituals instead of learning which machines have lower volatility.
Okay, with the exception of every single true progress machine in all of existence, so like 5 to 10% of all slot machines. Some of the people walking around are looking for true progress ones. Okay, you walk past the machine, you're like, oh look, the rabbit got bigger, the rocket got bigger, the firecrackers are higher. 99% of the time that doesn't mean anything because there's no number associated with it. However, if you were to look at one and say, oh, when the bonus goes off, on that one I'm going to get 7 free games, and on that one I'm going to get 27 free games. Well, then you should probably play the one with the higher number. And at a certain point, it's going to be tilted in your favor, way above 100% RTP. So if, for example, there was like, let's just make up a slot called Wolf Run Eclipse, sounds like it might be a real slot, I don't know, who knows. And you could get a mini, a minor, a major, or a grand, but forget the grand, you'll never get it. And you watched, you and a team of people watched 100,000 spins or so on YouTube because people love to, upload long format, or they just went with a hidden camera in their casino and did it themselves. And you determined that on an unknown pay table, because, you can order them with different pay tables, but whatever. And, on average, about 1 in every 163 spins, you're pretty likely to hit something, like the wheel or one of the mini, major, or minors. And 1 in every 235 spins, you get a mini. 1 in every 645 spins, you get the minor. And 1 in every 2,857, you get the major. So the mini pays 3.21 times your bet on average per free spin. So the minor pays 6.17x per free spin. And then the major pays 11.88x times your bet per free spin. And every 46 spins on average, the mini goes up by 1 without going off, or with going off, I guess, but whatever. The minor, 88, and the major every 417 spins. So you know the exact accrual rate, and you know the number that you will hit. So that means if both of the numbers are double digits and add up to 32 or higher, then the expected return is 101%. So if you walk up on a machine where it's 27.45, you're going to make some money. Now, if you just want to play it, you're not obsessed with it has to be above 100 because I'm going to make money. You could just look for true progress machines. Just walk around and be like, oh, that resets to 5 and it's at 11. That's not bad. It usually goes off by like 12, 13, 14, You know that from yourself playing it. You know that from watching people on YouTube play it, or you know it from watching other people in the casino play it. Well, you can shave the casino's edge down by knowing what machine to jump on and when. Then he mentions players should learn the volatility. Volatility and casino take are two completely different things, and I can tell you darn well which one you should be concerned about. I don't care if you get the bonus every 20 spins on average if it's set to 88%, okay? I'll take the high volatility machine that's set to 94%, thanks. It depends what your goal is, and then you could use stuff like odds stretching and conditional bet changing to effectively change not the odds but the outlay, but you can't run away from the overall take. Okay, that's the number you should be concerned with. Now, those aren't publicly available usually, but if a machine becomes really popular, like for example, if there was a machine with a whole bunch of like pigs and like maybe a wolf that blows on you, I'm just completely making this up. Rumor is it became really popular, so one casino manager somewhere, or 2 or 3, in a private group leaked the sheet, the marketing material, that states clear as day that it cannot go higher than X percentage, which means no matter how good you want the odds, they won't ship it to you that way. And then the odds could only get worse from there, or even worse, it has static odds. They don't allow variable odds. They only ship it one way, they don't change it, which is a really stupid thing to do. Well, then you'd want to avoid that machine because it's awful. So a little bonus 2-parter for you there. What other misinformation is there out there on YouTube?
I remember saying, so, the chances of all 8 of those teams winning, like, do you know what the odds are of that happening? And he gave me a response that I am sure every single sportsbook around the world loves to hear. He goes, well, I think I'm better than the odds. I just remember thinking, like, okay, dude, I think you're just a 19-year-old California moron, but hey, if you think you're better than the odds, you want to throw your money at it, then go for it. So anyone who owns a sports book, they love that kind of thought process and that kind of betting strategy.
Okay, that is like mind-blowingly incorrect. The entire fundamental basis of sports betting is something called overvalue. If you can identify an overvalued bet where it's too many people on one side of a bet and odds have shifted too much, but you think the opposite at least could happen, and if you bet it enough times, you're right enough times that you'll start to make percentages. So professional sports bettors can usually only pull off about 17 to 21% profit. People who study enough, people who follow the stats, they follow the news, especially like player injuries and player arrests. I mean, getting kicked off the team for drug use or something. They don't really adjust the odds until they just see too many people on one side. So is the team super popular nationally and people want them to win, so they put money on it? That's called overvalued. Recency bias, okay? You got a really good team versus a really bad team in baseball, and they play a series. They play them back-to-back day after day after day. Well, if the bad team beat the good team, then the bad team beat the good team again. You might see people saying, oh, wow, look at that. They're down to plus 120. I'm going to take that. Because obviously they're going to win again. They don't look at anything else. If it was one play, if it was a blown call from the whatever, they just don't look at anything. That's an overvalued bet due to recency bias. Then there's the chaos factor, okay? Baseball, late season. I have an 87% win rate according to my spreadsheet on this. Listen to this one closely, okay? Any game where the over-under is anticipated to be 7.5 or lower, you can splash 8 if you really want, but 7.5 or lower, it's going to be a low-scoring game, okay? That means that one hit, one blown call, one stolen base, one anything, misread something, dropped ball, home run, anything can just flip it like that, because it's going to be like 3-3, 3-4, 4-4, 4-5, or way more commonly, 0-1 in overtime. I've seen it. Bet the underdog, straight money line, and then bet the underdog again in a separate ticket individually with the plus 1.5. I have won so much money on that it's not even funny. That's betting the chaos, where just one little individual thing can make the whole thing go nuts. Not really so in hockey or soccer that much. Absolutely not entirely true in the NFL because the teams are just too good. You could get a blown coverage, you could get somebody running it 90 yards for a touchdown, but how often does that happen? Like once a season? And then they adjust their strategy, they play differently, and like a lot of the teams are really close in skill level. It doesn't really work. Now that said, people are so good at predicting the NFL that I heard from a reliable source that the overall profit margin for the average sports book in NFL betting is 0.5%. Now you might know that if you bet something that's even odds, it's negative 110 on most sports bets. That's because they want their 10%. So you'd have to bet 110 to win 100 on something that should be a 50-50 toss-up. That's the house margin. Even with a built-in 10% margin-ish, people are beating them by about 9.5%. So they're barely making any money because people are so good at doing better than the computers at determining who's going to win. Now that said, no serious bettor makes multi-way, really big parlays part of their actual betting. Now I've done it. I've hit them for a couple $100. My friend hits them all the time, but he complains about, oh man, 7 of them won and 1 of them missed. I can't believe this. I even just for fun bet an 8-way parlay just trying to win one time with college betting, college football. And I took all the highest number blowouts. We're talking the minimum was 11-1 odds. And the one that lost, one team lost, it was the negative 30,000. That's a 30-1 chance of winning. They lost by 1 in overtime. I don't know if their quarterback got hit by a car on the way to the game or what happened there. I don't know. What I know is 8-way parlays are stupid. There's certain ways that you can bet like 2s and 3s and offset 2s, like 2 one way, 2 the other way, and then you get like a hedge between them. Or you bet a 4-way and offset it with a 2-way hedge, or you bet a 3-way and then do a flip-flop 4, and it's higher than it would be if you left it off. That's an IGT special right there. I don't know how the math lets them do that. There's the downward upward trend live bet attack. I talked about that on another video on this channel. By the way, if you like this information, hit subscribe. Obviously, you don't want to miss this. I would dare say I'm one of the more knowledgeable people in the world about how to beat casinos and how the games really work. And you won't hear any disinformation on this channel. You won't hear me reading off some listicle crap that was generated by AI, okay? This is like real stuff that I really know because it affects my pocketbook. Okay, first 3 weeks of college football, they're just using last year's stats. They have no idea. They have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. So bet the underdog across the board. Doesn't matter who's playing who, bet the underdog. I tried that. I made like 10%. You know, it wasn't nothing special, but yeah, I was winning left and right. There are ways to beat sports betting. The whole fundamental basis of it is I know better than the odds. If you don't think you know better than the odds, you don't even know what the team is or how they're playing, or I think you're just picking them at random. That's stupid. Go play a slot. So while he was right, giant parlays are stupid, everything else he said is incorrect. He clearly does not understand sports betting, but feels like he can talk about it. Well, you're wrong, Jacob. Here's what I don't even need a clip for, okay? Every YouTuber ever in some TV shows, the best bet in a casino is the odds bet on craps because it's a 50-50 odds with no margin and they pay you 50-50 or they pay you 2-1, you know, whatever. It's even money. You don't even have to play craps. You don't even have to buy into the craps table, wait for that to happen to make the odds bet. You don't have to do that, okay? What you can do is take a $100 bill and you can put it in the change machine, and then when it gives you 520s, act all excited. That also has a 100% RTP with absolutely zero margin. And lower volatility. What? People get way too excited about these odds bets, start throwing money at it, acting like it's free. Bro. So I got to thinking, okay, with all the different ways that we can tilt stuff more than 100% in our favor, with every machine I've ever played on, what would be the best bet in the casino? We came up with Ultimate X if somebody left 12X multipliers in every single line. And you may think nobody's that stupid if you've never played on holidays or at bars. So, or at bars on holidays. People don't know how to play this. They think it's a gimmick. They get a full house, they get a bunch of money, they get their money back and they go, I'm out. Or they hit this even number and I'm out, and they leave multipliers in play. Okay, me we're talking about here. I did not know that you can manually roll your bet over, cut it in half, and still benefit from the multipliers for about 11 years. I did not know that. I don't blame anyone who doesn't know that and just thinks that the multiplier is going to keep you playing, but like 12X's? But anyway, no, I've seen it. I've seen it 3 independent times. If you lower it to 8X, I've seen it about 15 times. And I thought, wait, what about bonus streak in a stack of 12X's? Wouldn't that be better? And I thought, well, if it's 12X in every line for the next 4 bets, you're still making 4 bets. So it'd be the exact same odds with lower volatility as regular Ultimate X. So a 1,200% return to player is pretty good. That's pretty good. For every $10 you win $120. That is solid. But in the world of slots, I thought, okay, Regal Riches, you walk up and the blue number's at like 28. That wouldn't happen. The most I've walked up on, I think, is like 11, maybe like a 14. And still it could take 10, 15 spins. You have no idea. So you got to divide that out. So is it going to beat 12 times your money? No, probably not. But okay, Honk Bubbles. I think it's called Ocean Magic or something. It's called Honk Bubbles. Call it Honk Bubbles. Why would you ever call it anything other than Honk Bubbles? There's bubbles. She honks. You can hear the across the whole casino. It's Honk Bubbles. Anyway, you'll walk up 59, 59, 49 with like 1 bubble away. That would be the best bet in the casino. Very unrealistic, but I have seen people with 6 bubbles in play hit it on the left side, go, ooh, that's a pretty good line pay. I made $20. I'm getting out. And they've got like, I think I want to say 57, 54, and I think the blue one was really low. I walked up, put in a 20, went boop, 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 $600, just like that. The hard part is I don't know the actual average return. I just know the numbers, but I have seen that bonus pay like crap probably 75% of the time. But you would get multiple of them, and some of them get astronomical. So, yeah. Honk Bubbles and UX with a blanket malt. Those would be the best bets.
Wait, real quick one here. Go ahead. I'll get this one after.
Marie S. Rodriguez says, people talk about Indian casinos compared to others. Do they pay less? Man, this myth bugs the crap out of me. And I don't know why or where it started or why or whatever the case is, but they're not, just from what we know, they're not any different from non-tribal casinos.
Okay, these grumpy old hypocrites, a lot of people listen to what they have to say for some reason. A lot of it's really good advice that they don't follow. And before I go on a full rant about what I don't like about these guys, let's break down what they're wrong about here. Native American casinos have worse odds. In general, across the board on average, yes. Not all of them. Here we go. Counterexample. Ho Chunk Gaming Madison, 95% floor average payout. They cannot legally say that unless it's true. That is better than anything you will ever see on the Strip. That's better than anything I've ever even heard of in Atlantic City. Oneida Casino in Green Bay, Wisconsin. They don't disclose their odds. If you want to know how good or bad the odds are, walk up to any video poker machine, change it to Bet Max on the highest denom, and look at the pay table. If it's like really far from what is it, like a 9.6 on jacks or better, or whatever, they go way lower, like an 8.5 or something. That means that they thought, oh, like a 2 or 3% video poker machine, well, we can't allow that. Let's order it with a worse pay table. And that indicates that all their slots are ordered with the worst set of odds as well. Usually, you can almost always correlate the two directly together. I have never seen worse video poker payback tables than at Oneida. They have the worst. Maybe a worse would exist somewhere. I haven't seen it. Let me call in two alleged experts in the industry here to explain the two reasons that usually Native American casinos have worse odds.
It's because they typically do not report their return to player statistics. They don't have to.
They're
so
not
everybody sees that
by most state laws.
And so they're just like, most people say, well, they're not being transparent, so they're obviously doing something nefarious.
Tribal casinos pay way more in state and federal taxes than any corporation does.
That's correct. Also, their profits, a portion of it gets split between the entire tribe, and they pay down to 1/4, like genetically, I guess you would say. And with a lot of tribes, that's a lot of money they're cutting checks to the people for. It's a lot. There's a reason they got so many like social programs and stuff on the reservation, because they got money coming from everywhere. Well, money coming from one specific place, but that's because they make the odds crap, because the more they rip you off, the more they can pay for the stuff that they're already paying for. And there's nothing more permanent than a temporary social benefit program, because as soon as you're the one who takes it away, bye-bye, you're not in charge anymore. If you ever want to know why Universal Basic Income or UBI won't work, look at every single tribe ever. Because they already do that, and it generally works because they have like responsibilities, smaller communities, the social pressure, they all know each other. If you're going to be a freeloading bum, you're going to hear about it from everybody in the community. And yet, still, the number of Native Americans just cramming 4 people into a small apartment, collecting and pooling all the money they get for free and not working, just sitting around playing video games and producing nothing in the economy, is a little too high to be sustainable. But luckily, rich people keep coming to the casinos and giving them money. So it does work. Doesn't work nationally. Anyway, yeah, they have enormous taxes, no tax breaks, no like tourism, anything. They don't get any tax breaks from states. Not really. I mean, it's a little different on taxes because they are like on a reservation, but it's not like you need a passport, you go to another country, okay? I'm not going to get into it other than they have higher expenses and taxes, so they tend to set their machines worse. That is just on a whole true. Now they said, oh, that's absolutely a myth because we saw 2 examples and they were both set good, so they must all be that way. You must have found 2 Ho-Chunk casinos because there's only 2 that actually have the floor average of 95. The rest don't. The rest are a little bit worse. Still good, but a little bit worse. I've been to all of them. Trust me. You want to get paid 9-1 on your full houses, go to Ho-Chunk, all right? Even on nickels, I believe. I have collective numbers from most of them. So with a scientific sample size, yes, they are on average much worse than better casinos. I can't find the clip, but they also said during this live stream and many, many times on their channel that buy a bonus is just stupid. Don't do that. I don't know if they just aren't good at math. Okay, that one with the rhinos and the diamonds. I don't remember what it is. I would never buy a bonus on that. It's just stupid. You lose 9 out of 10, and then a couple of them are astronomical, like 9-1 miracles, okay? But coin trio. The coin trio with the pigs. I forget what that one is. Deal or no deal. Walk up, pay $50, play deal or no deal. All right. Those are machines where if you bet 50, you're going to get pretty close to 50. You know, sometimes you get skunked, you get the $10 case, get a bad offer, whatever. And sometimes, you double up, triple up. There's not much volatility. You guys know how deal or no deal works, and the game works just fine. The whole game is the bonus, okay? You don't get line pays on it. Same with a coin trio. You just do not get significant line pays. I think the bonus is 90% of the total payout, and the line pays are 10% if I had to assign a number to both of them collectively. So what are you doing if you're going to say, oh, well, okay, I'm going to spin until I get the bonus instead of just paying for the bonus all at once because they said that it's worse. It's being greedy and fast, and I just want the result now, and you should be patient and enjoy your play. What the heck is enjoyable about sitting down, pressing a button 50 times, and losing every single spin, and then not getting the bonus? When you know it's like a 1 in 40, 1 in 50, 1 in 60 bonus, and you're at 100 spins and you haven't gotten anything. Because, well, maybe I'll get the bonus early. Maybe I'll get the bonus 3 times in 50 spins. Yeah, that is it, but now you're what I like to call meta gambling. The game is the bonus. There is no game outside the bonus. Okay, it's not like a 1 in 1,000 bonus and the line pays float you and you should really just be patient and see if it happens. I can't even name a buy a bonus game that works that way. You should buy a bonus to keep the volatility low and the consistency high. And how long does it take to play out the bonus on any of the ones I just mentioned? Deal or no deal, it's minutes. Coin trio, it's minutes. You could, do one spin in 3 seconds on those, and minutes with an S, you could burn all your money and get nothing. So you're like gambling that you'll get to gamble. You want to get the bonus, but you risk money, not even getting the bonus at all without it being guaranteed. I want the guaranteed bonus. I'm going to walk up, press the button, and buy it, okay? On most machines. There are exceptions. If you go to, I guess they would call it high volatility. I call it what they should be called, which is a top-heavy machine, where, like I said, 90% of the time you're going to lose money, and then 10% you're going to get a really crazy one, really good. A lot of those are on online casinos. You don't find them very much in physical, terrestrial, land-based casinos. And that's because everybody hates them. If you buy the bonus and you get a bad bonus, and then you have it happen again and again and again, you start thinking, oh, okay, I get it. Like, it would take a miracle, or it's like a 1 in 10 or something, 1 in 20, for me to get like a really good win. And I'm good with like doubling up. I'm good with a 30, 40% return, Plus, if you just go sheer numbers, if I flip a coin 50 times, I'm pretty sure I'm going to get about 25 heads and about 25 tails. I know what that result's going to be. If I walk up and do 500 spins on a machine, I'm pretty sure if it's a 90% return to player, what I'm going to end up with overall on average, especially on a low volatility machine. So then the volatility is how many times do I get the bonus? Well, if you just pay for the bonus, $100 one time, you're probably not going to win zero. You're going to get some of your money back, and a lot of the time you'll be like, oh, wow, I made 70. Oh, look at that, $20 profit. And we had fun. We got to play the part of the game I care about, and I didn't have to wait for it. Cool. And then you get up and leave. The one thing they said is like, it's like a pattern where you're like, you bet 50, you win 45, and you're like, well, I have enough to buy another bonus. That was kind of disappointing. Nobody walks away, and it keeps you playing. Yeah, but I'd prefer that over like winning $45 twice and eventually losing 10 than playing 100 spins, getting 0 bonuses. So the gambling on top of gambling, when you know what the game's really about, I don't support that at all. Just walk up and buy the bonus. It is the most logical, low volatility, enjoyable, fun way to do it. They are completely dead wrong about it. But what else would you expect from a bunch of, honestly, in my interactions with them and on their live streams, very, very grumpy old men who treat any machine less than 20 years old like it's witchcraft and should be burned at the stake without knowing anything about it? I mentioned to them, hey, you guys are really smart. You know the odds, you're game techs, you've been around casinos forever. You must like be AP players, right? And they said, they didn't really answer. They didn't want to admit it, which, yeah, okay, cool. Because a lot of casinos will not let you in and not let you film if they know what you're about and how you play. So they just don't. But everything I've seen from them, they're recreational players. They've heard of AP stuff. They don't study it. They don't know it. Because I said, hey, that game right there that you just walked past on live stream, you're going to want to play that one. It's really good. And all 3 of them, I saw some good numbers. And they said, no, that's a new one. It's got terrible return to player, terrible volatility. I'm like literally looking at the chart myself. I'm like, no, that's an 8% to 4% casino margin machine. You're just saying that based on the looks. You have no proof. You have no evidence. You're just saying that because you don't like the look of it. And then they go sit down at some ancient machine like Cherry's Jubilee or whatever, which, yeah, okay, that one's like a 3-4%, and they know it. But they just say, oh, that's new, so it must be bad. That is another myth that they've been spreading. Newer machines are all bad. Every single one's bad. And the more popular it is, the worse it is. Rawr. They're just projecting the fact that they like all the old machines from when they were younger, and they just don't research, they don't trust, they don't like the newer ones, even though the newer ones are better designed, and they damn well know it. It just pisses me off so much, the amount of misinformation they're stating as fact. They told me flat out, we made a conscious decision not to mention anything related to Advantage Play on this channel because then it's a different type of channel. A lot of people don't like you giving that information out. To which my response to any of the haters are, kiss my ass, everything's pretty much already blown. At least I'm not charging for it. Once again, subscribe, by the way. And like, I can respect that, but then to openly not embrace it at all or learn the basic bit about it or just play it anyway. Spoiler alert, there's a reason that Vegas matches suddenly goes, oh, we decided today to play 125 a spin. And then you look in the Buffalo numbers at like 1150. At that bet size at 1250, it becomes tilted in your favor. So they're playing it probably at about a 98% RTP. And there's a good reason for that. It's because they don't want to lose money. So they're not like shouting out, hey, we jumped on this because the numbers are really high and that means we have better odds. They do it, but they, the ones who know, and the ones who don't know, it goes right over their head. I would have no problem with that. These guys do the opposite. They don't learn about it. They don't want to know about it. And they actively suppress information about it. And that's because they're just too lazy to learn it. And then one of the dudes just released a short saying, yeah, I found out you could just like get a, I don't know, marker or whatever, charge this amount to your room, and then you wouldn't have to pay any fee. And I went way overboard, so I'm not going to gamble all month because I went way overboard. They are like the gamble responsibly guys. Wait, what's the name of their channel? Hold on. Holy crap, it's Gamble Smart. They're the ones who invented, they said, there's a great invention. We got this thing where you like put your money in it and it's a lockbox and it only opens once per hour. So you like suck all your money once, put your money in there, and then you are physically stopped from gambling it. If you don't have the self-control to just do that yourself and manage a bankroll, you're too impulsive and you get caught up by all the hype and the excitement, you shouldn't be in a casino. Newsflash, neither should these guys apparently based on what they just did. I've seen them make some very questionable moves on live stream. Now a couple, they're like, we're just doing this for live stream, we would never play this. I actually do believe them about that a little bit, but well, then there's the story he just told, isn't there? So just a little lesson that even if their name is Gamble Smart, their channel's exploding and they pretend like they know everything, they don't know everything, they have biases, and they probably got the same problems as half of you guys out there. But me, I'm not even that into gambling, to be perfectly honest. Once I know that there's ways that I can always tilt it in my favor and that it will always be tilted outside of my favor on anything else, it's really hard to walk up to that machine and say, I just like it when the goldfish dances and I'm going to play it, when you know darn well what's going to happen. Okay, over the long term. This machine could be 105% if you walk up to it at the right time. This one's 90%. I'm going to play it because Dancing Panda. No, I work too hard for this money. I am not a wealthy person, okay? I still got medical debt and crap to pay off. To me, going to a casino is a job, okay? If you've got the resources, it's part of your budget. You stick to a budget, you play responsibly, cool, go to a casino. It's better than going on a cruise where you're probably not going to get your money back, or buying a boat where you're definitely not going to get your money back. It's a smart vacation for people who play intelligently, and if that's you, go to a casino. If it's not you, don't. Don't dick around with some stupid little lockbox and some other, toddler-proof controls because you're an impulsive idiot. I think you need to work on you before you even step foot in a casino, all right? Don't get your information from gambling addicts who refuse to learn anything and who are like the, no, Atari was better types, you know what I mean? You know what I mean. So with that rant over with, and I've just made enemies of everyone, I guess subscribe if you like hearing the truth, and I'm out of here. I'll see you guys next time. Which, yes, I'm still working on the video. It's taking forever to edit. I promise the next video will be the one showing how to rip off the new machines that are from 2024 from IGT. Yeah, it's coming. It's like halfway done. I wanted to get this out of the way because both these videos went up this week, and I had to say something about them. This is just disgraceful. Send this video to everybody you know. I'll see you guys.